Sup, freaks? It's your boy Marty Bent here to introduce this rip of Rabbit Hole Recap. Haven't ripped it yet. Pre-recorded ads. We'll see how my Elon rant is. There's a lot of pressure. I think I have some thoughts. I'm actually going to use the Elon rant to gather my thoughts for today's Marty's Bent. Hopefully, it won't be out by the time this hits the airways. If you're listening to this Friday or late Thursday night, hopefully Marty's Bent is out there. This rip is brought to you by our good friends at the motherfucking Cash App. Cash App, they're helping you stack sats. Sats. Sats are the standard. What are sats? Short for Satoshis. There's 100 million Satoshis in one whole Bitcoin. You can stack sats. You don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin. Sats are the standard. You can make them the standard in the Cash App. You can DCA into sats via the Cash App. You can buy daily, weekly, bi-weekly, as low as $1 worth of sats. And sats are on sale right now. You get more than 2,000 sats per cuckbuck. 2,075 sats. So be aware. You can use the Cash App as your bank account. They're offering account numbers or rounding numbers. You can get your paychecks direct deposited, make stacking easier. Stack stonks if you want to. They have their cash card. Accept it wherever Visa's accepted. It comes with their boost program. You can hit your boost, go shop somewhere, get some money back to stack sats with. It's all incredible. Use the code STACKING, SATS, STACKING, when you download the app. If you haven't already, you're going to get $10. $10 is going to go to our good friends at Owls Lacrosse. That's Owls Lacrosse. This rip was also brought to you by our very, very good friends at Unchained Capital. Unchained Capital doing incredible things to bring services, financial services, to Bitcoiners with a security-first mindset that leverages Bitcoin's native properties. Nothing. What's the word I'm looking for? Nothing really brings this point home, their ethos, better than their Vault product. That's what we're here to talk about today. They have a white glove concierge service for you freaks. If you're out there, you have your sats on an exchange and you're like, I need to get it in cold storage. I need to get it like off the exchange. Unchained Capital is offering a collaborative custody model where you can hold two keys in a 2 or 3 multi-sig setup. You always have control of your UTXOs, but you also have someone there as a backup if you need it. Unchained is that third in the 2 or 3 signature. So if you have one of your keys, the other one's away from you or you lost it, Unchained is there to be that second in the 2 or 3 signature. And their white glove concierge service are going to walk you through everything you need to know to get comfortable with their Vault product. Again, it's a multi-sig Vault. You're going to have multiple video conference calls with the Unchained team. They're going to get you comfortable with multi-sig. They're going to get you comfortable with their Vault product. They're going to get you comfortable with hardware wallets. They're going to send you 2 hardware wallets. They're going to help you make a private public key pair, back up that seed phrase, and you're going to set up your Vault. You're going to make sure that everything's backed up, that you have your derivation pass, that you're comfortable, that you practice, that you really know what you're doing. Unchained is there for you. They're going to set this all up. For you freaks, you're going to get $50 off this package. Again, you get the voice calls, the video conferences, the hardware wallets. You get comfortable with the setup. You learn about multi-sig, and then once your Vault's set up, they're going to dump 1,000 bucks worth of sats into your Vault. So go check it out, unchained-capital.com. We're going to put the link to the concierge service specifically in the show notes. Again, tell them TFTC sent you. You're going to get $50 off that. Save that $50 worth of bucks to turn into sats. 50 bucks worth of sats for you freaks. Unchained's bringing it to you. This rip is also brought to you by our good friends at Compass. Nope. Free ad. One word. Hodl is in this read. Hodl is out there bringing you freaks the ability to use your Bitcoin as collateral on their Lend platform. Lend at Hodl is a new non-custodial Bitcoin-backed lending platform that allows peer-to-peer lending and borrowing between users globally, anonymously, and on your own terms. It's available to American citizens, all you U.S. freaks out there. You can actually leverage this Hodl product unlike their other products because our regulatory system here is a little fucked. Are you free? We ask that a lot. Maybe I'll ask that in this episode. We shall see. I bet we will. If you're short funds, you don't need to sell your Bitcoins. Get some liquidity by borrowing, using your Bitcoin as collateral. And the great thing is you don't need to entrust someone with your funds. Again, Hodl's leveraging Bitcoin's native multi-sig properties as well. You set up a loan with a counterparty, and then you lock your Bitcoin in a multi-sig escrow account. You hold one key, your counterparty holds one key, HODL holds the third key. You can always make sure that your sats are where your counterparty says they are, where HODL says they are. You can make sure that they're not being rehypothecated, and you control one of the keys to that. If you have stable coins, you can go on the other side of this lending market, offer them up to individuals looking to use their Bitcoin as collateral, get some interest, get some yield on the stable coins. Create your offers and set your own terms at lend.hodlhodl.com today. That's lend, L-E-N-D.hodlhodl, HODLHODL.com. Incredible product, incredible team. Again, I've said this in the past, but I've talked to freaks that have leveraged this, and they really like it. U.S. freaks particularly. Last but not least, this rip was brought to you by our good friends at Brains. Brains is a couple of major product updates that can make life much easier for miners, especially larger operations running Brains OS Plus. The first update is the brand new Brains OS Plus Manager, an online platform that enables miners to remotely monitor and manage all of their ASICs running Brains OS Plus firmware to help improve uptime and keep their farms running optimally without the hassle of needing to be on site 24/7. It's annoying to be on site 24/7. You got like an Edward Cinqueso Evenson on site. Make sure those fans are on. Temperature critical. Voltage. Hashing boards. You don't need that anymore. You don't need to. So you don't need to be beholden to the whip anymore. The manager is and will always be free for Brains OS Plus miners, and they can connect an unlimited number of devices. You can watch on your tablet, your phone, your laptop, whatever tickles your fancy. Security and efficiency were top priorities. Brains OS Plus Manager uses Stratum v2 for smaller and less frequent data transfers, with all ASIC configuration and telemetry data being sent via encrypted connections, which protect against eavesdropping and man-in-the-middle attacks. For details on the manager and how to set it up with your mining operation, go to Brains, that's BRAIINS.com/blog, and check out the Brains OS Plus Manager launch article. Again, it's Brains, BRAIINS.com. And last but not least, Slush Pool is also getting its first major update in the past couple of years, and you'll have some new industry-first features for Bitcoin mining pools. The update hasn't been launched just yet, but I can tell you that it's going to include ultra-flexible payout system, customizable mining reward splitting, and best of all, dark theme for those freaks who need your eyes to be nice and taken care of. 24/7 hash rate monitoring. It's easy on the eyes. Follow slush_pool on Twitter to see the announcement when the pool update finally goes live. Enjoy this rip, freaks. I don't know what it's going to, I think it's going to be a good one. I got good energy right now. I got some Yinglings. I'm going to be drinking Yinglings. Been watching Mayor of Easttown. They drink a lot of Yingling in that show, and I had some in the garage fridge because I'm in the Philadelphia area. I think, hey, I'll have a Yingy or 3 today. Enjoy. Tiki!
You've had a dynamic where money's become freer than free.
If you talk about a Fed just gone nuts, all the central banks going nuts.
So it's all acting like safe haven.
I believe that in a world where central bankers are tripping over themselves to devalue their currency, Bitcoin wins. In the world of fiat currencies, Bitcoin is the victor.
I mean, that's part of the bull case for Bitcoin.
If you're not paying attention, you probably should be.
What is up, freaks? It's your boy Marty Bent here for another rip of Rabbit Hole Recap. I've got a Yingling. Matthew, I've been watching Mayor of Easttown, a show set in Delaware County, Pennsylvania, where I was raised, and they've been drinking a lot of Yingling. So I said, hey, I want to throw back some Yingies today. How are you doing, sir?
Yingling was one of my go-tos in college.
Yeah, it's a nice cheap lager.
I poured this beer out, and it was red.
Yeah, I noticed that. I thought you were drinking like a Code Red or something there.
It's a Jungle Zombie Apocalypse KCBC Kings County Brewers Collective out of Brooklyn. It's a sour beer.
Sounds like a heavy alcohol content too. What are we looking at?
No, it's quite light.
Ah, interesting.
Well, I mean, maybe not in terms of alcohol content.
What type of Tesla are you buying?
Did you cancel your pre-order, Marty?
I did. I had to, just can't support that. Nah. I never I like combustion engine cars. Tesla never appealed to me. I've ridden in a Tesla a couple times, but the first Uber I ever got was actually a Tesla. It was in Chicago. It was like when Uber first came out. I'll never forget. Got into it with my buddy Chris. I was like, this is a Tesla? This is Uber? Is this every time you get an Uber, you get a Tesla? I thought it was pretty cool.
Narrator, wasn't the case. I mean, we're gonna dive into this, but the craziest thing to me about the Elon comments is I just got like messages. I just got like text messages from like college friends and high school friends and stuff like, I'm so fucking pissed at Elon right now. It's like just outwardly angry at him for his tweet. And
we're gonna get into it. I've got some thoughts.
Okay.
And it goes beyond Elon and Tesla. We'll get into it. There's a lot going on. It's a data point in a long arcing trend towards communism in the United States. We'll get to why I believe that. Right now, as you can see,
there's no reason to be upset, freaks.
No, there is no reason. Show me the incentives and I'll show you the outcome. Charlie Munger, notorious Bitcoin hater, but that is an incredible quote. And we're going to get into the incentives behind what I believe to be the incentives behind Elon's tweet. And I think others may agree with me. The price currently, according to Clark's dashboard, is $48,385. Guess what, freaks? Cuck bucks are going to get you more sats than they did this time last week when we last came to record. Sats are on sale. You're going to get 2,067 sats per cuck buck. Back under $1 trillion market cap. We're at $905.2 billion. We're 25.4% away from the all-time high. We're currently at block height 683,486. 89.09% of every Bitcoin that will ever be mined has been mined. That's 18,709,198.00 Bitcoin. Another 00 day that we landed on Clark's dashboard. We had a difficulty adjustment earlier this morning. In the wee hours of the morning here on the East Coast in the U.S., we had an upwards adjustment of 21.5%. Pretty epic upward adjustment. And we are now currently sitting at an all-time high in terms of difficulty since the difficulty adjusted. What is it? I'm doing the math in my head. 40, 16, 56, 62 blocks ago. Blocks have been coming in at 9 minutes, 53 seconds on average. Next adjustment estimated to be on May 24th, 2021. And that will be an upward 2.4% adjustment, but we can't take that estimate. It's too soon after this morning's adjustment. There are currently 17,753 transactions in Clark's mempool. Where we at Samurai? Checking on Samurai, 2,257.10 Bitcoin or $109.5 million. Obviously, with the price going down, that liquidity pool in terms of cuck bucks has gone down as well, but it seems to be pretty steady in terms of Bitcoin locked up in Whirlpool. Below 50,000, Matt. Do you think you'd ever see the day?
I mean, I kind of didn't, kind of didn't. But this is what happens in bull markets. We do tend to have these lessons mid-bull market to teach you to be humble. And I'm just glad that I'm not a leverage trader. Right. So the only thing that it affects is my ego, but nothing short of that.
How's your ego? How does this affect your ego?
Well, I kind of, and I really feel like the freaks haven't given me enough shit for it. I mean, right now the local top is when I crashed BTC Sessions live stream. Like we literally have just gone down since then. Yes. And that was when I called Bitcoin Tina a fucking bear for like $300,000 prediction.
Bitcoin Tina, you got to pump those numbers.
So I needed a little bit of a humility lesson there.
Yeah. We all do. We all need to keep in check. We were in a consolidation phase for what felt like a month. Feel like you're going to break up or down. We broke down a little bit. Maybe we could break down a little bit more. What does it say? All right, so let's just start with it. Let's just front load it with the Elon shit. Like, was that the impetus for the crash? There was some weird things. So there's many layers to this. For you freaks who are unaware, if you've been living under a rock for the last 24 hours, last night, Elon Musk tweeted out a tweet that said Tesla and Bitcoin and had a picture of some iPhone notes that basically explained, hey, Tesla's going to stop accepting Bitcoin as payment for Teslas. However, we are going to remain steady on holding the Bitcoin on our balance sheet that we've already acquired. Reason behind it is we need to take the environmental impact of mining into consideration, especially those miners using coal, which is a little weird. And then he said, like, we will be looking into other cryptocurrencies that use less than 1% of the energy that is used to mine Bitcoin. I'm pulling this from the top of my head, but I think that's a good synopsis of what was said. Obviously, everybody freaked out. Like, what the fuck, Elon? I mean, Matt, I know you may have had an ego hit in some regards this week, but I think this is very much a case where it validates your thesis. Like, don't create heroes in this space.
Oh yeah, I mean 100%. And also it's nice. It's I've said in the past that it's nice to be in a contrarian environment again. Right. When the price goes down and all the haters come out, I always feel I'm always in a better mood than when it's just overwhelmingly euphoric. But I mean, the really interesting thing is so he just like fucking, so he had the Dogecoin bullshit on SNL on Saturday, right? And I think it's all connected, right? Because he has this Dogecoin bullshit on Saturday, and the price of Dogecoin goes up to like 72 cents. Barry Silbert of Grayscale comes out and he's like, we're shorting this fucking thing. Then SNL happens. It's like the worst SNL ever, just like straight cringe. I mean, I don't even watch SNL, so I don't know. Maybe that's the usual thing, but it wasn't very good. I couldn't finish it. And then as it's happening, like the chart is just fucking going straight down. Like Dogecoin went down like 42%. You know, like TikTokers, like all these fucking new coiners, like they learned, you know, what a proper shitcoin pump and dump was, but it happened live on prime time, like live on like a network news channel in America. And then, so like the aftermath of that is obviously not very good look for him. And then he tweets out, should Tesla start accepting Dogecoin? And he does a poll for that. And then the next tweet after that was, we're no longer going to accept Bitcoin because of the environmental reasons, but we're not going to sell. So I feel like you need the whole, and then the second he tweeted that out, what, like Bitcoin fell like 8%, 9%. We fell like 6K, 7K.
More than that. At least.
Yeah, 7K would be 12%, right? That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, many layers to this, So again, number one, he was wrong in his description. Like alluding to like per transaction energy use. Like that's just such a bad metric. It doesn't even exist. It's not a correct metric. It's not a metric at all. Like, the energy it takes for me to broadcast a transaction is minimal. Like, it's as similar to me sending a Telegram message to Matt here. Literally just click a button, broadcast, propagates it across the nodes, and then if the miners want to add that to a block, that process takes some energy. The ordering of transactions, but actually sending a transaction does not take that much energy. And trying to measure energy per transaction sent is another bad metric as well. Because again, like one transaction can have many inputs that represent many payments. One transaction can be used to open up a payment channel on the Lightning Network, at which point the movement within that channel can represent thousands, millions of payments, hypothetically. So it's just a bad metric. And he said that basically the message that he sent in the notes that came with that tweet made it seem like he believed now that they're not accepting Bitcoin as payment, they're not contributing to the Bitcoin mining industry's energy conversion, electricity use, which is just patently false. Your transactions are still held within blocks on the Bitcoin ledger. So every block added on top of that secures your transactions. So you're leveraging the energy that's being converted to electricity to add blocks. Like you're contributing just by holding. You're saying that, hey, I think the electricity to be expended by miners is worth it because they're securing my transactions. That's one thing. And so let's get to like, why did he do this? And I'm becoming pretty partial to the idea after 24 hours. It's been 24 hours. I went crazy on Twitter. So that's the other thing. My rants on Twitter last night, it was
all caps Marty came out.
All caps Marty came out, but it's literally just to point out the hypocrisy. I don't believe that Tesla's evil because they're mining lithium for their batteries. I don't think that people should not buy Teslas. But I do think that people should be upfront with the trade-offs. We talk about trade-offs a lot in Bitcoin, and scaling, privacy, number go up, trade-offs of running with that narrative, running with narratives, trade-offs. When it comes to energy use and energy sources, particularly, especially in the Western world where you have this climate emergency, you have a bunch of hysterics beginning to beat the drum about this, and it's seeped into the capital markets as well, where you have the ESG movement. You have Biden giving out subsidies to green tech, and this is all done. It doesn't really explain the trade-offs of the green tech. And so first I'm going to explain why I believe that Elon did this, and that is because literally the night before last, Biden announced the U.S. renewable fuel credit market, which would allow Tesla to basically get tax subsidies as a company for contributing to the expansion of green energy production technologies or green energy technologies within U.S. borders. Tesla, obviously, electric cars is one of those. So I believe he tweeted that out after hearing some flack from his board, knowing that this initiative was going to come out from the Biden administration, like, hey, we need some PR to basically save our asses from the Bitcoin thing, because that's like a big thing. Bitcoin uses a lot of electricity. Obviously, we talk about the energy FUD all the time. So I think it was a posturing, very flaky posturing, again, because they didn't sell their Bitcoin. They don't actually believe they're leveraging the electricity used to mine Bitcoin because it's securing their transactions. But it's all for this LARP, for this subsidy that the Biden administration has given out, and Trump, and it's been going on since Obama, I believe, and been giving out. And this is harpens back to what I alluded to earlier. Like, this is leading us towards a communist, centrally planned economy, where you have these subsidies. These subsidies, again, show me the incentives, I'll show you the outcome. The incentive for Tesla as a company, and this is how they've operated, they've never been profitable until they made that Bitcoin trade last quarter. They've never made money. They literally survive on subsidies and LARPing. Like, they never produced the solar panels they said they were going to. Like, who knows what's going on with like the Boring Company tunnel stuff. They're basically just leveraging free money printing, government giving out subsidies to create green technologies, and that is how their business sustains itself. And it's a dangerous thing that we're literally pushing our economy in this direction towards unreliable green energy solutions. I mean, we've seen, it's a topic on the list that we're going to talk about later, but we saw the disruption of the gas pipeline, the Colonial Gas Pipeline this week. We saw how quickly gas stations in the southeast part of the country started running dry. But this is a trend that happened because of a ransomware attack, where you have the government with this green energy initiative actively shutting down nuclear power plants, pipelines in Michigan, Keystone Pipeline, Dakota Pipeline. Like, they're actively making the United States a less reliable. They're making the energy infrastructure extremely fragile and less reliable. And that's why on this show, the last couple of weeks, I've felt compelled to have crossover episodes with Gamcast that I've been recording with people who intimately know how fragile our grids are and how important it is for people to wake up and realize this. We're being pushed into a unreliable grid system to basically LARP, to push these green energy technologies on the country, and they don't talk about the trade-offs. The amount of fossil fuels, the amount of coal that goes into building the solar panels, the wind turbines, the amount, again, like I was tweeting last night to point out the hypocrisy. Like, you're saying Bitcoin mining is bad, but like what we're doing at Great America Mining, we're reducing flare, and the Tesla cars may be green energy technology. They may be electric cars, but it takes a lot of energy to develop the batteries, to develop the cars. And then once the cars are on the road, they're literally plugging in to charging stations that are run on coal and natural gas. It's all bullshit. I'm sorry. I'm trembling here now.
There's no need to be upset, Marty. Elon is just
well, that's the thing. Like, this isn't about Elon. This is just like a show me the incentives, I'll show you the outcome. Elon's incentives at Tesla are such that he had to tweet that out last night and make
It's not even that. It's not even that. It's the same old shit as last cycle, just with bigger numbers and with bigger.
I don't think this has any. This is not. I don't think this is Bitcoin related.
In a lot of ways, it is Bitcoin related because there's a Bitcoin shitcoin element here too. I mean, there was literally at the end of his statement, he said, "And we're exploring looking into more environmentally friendly cryptocurrencies." Like he literally said that at the end of his statement. He's been pumping Doge, going up and down with the pump and dumps on Doge.
Agreed. But that is not. It is the shitcoins leveraging the perverse incentives put forth by the U.S. government to LARP about green energy, taking advantage of that attack vector. Like, you had JP Morgan come out. What was that one line they had? Like, we're more bullish on ETH 2.0 because it's proof of stake, and he is
You called this, Marty. You've been talking for like the last 3 years on the show. You have said that we're going to get more and more energy FUD.
I know.
Like, that's what's going to happen. It's going to happen more than this. And in the short term, these price drops as a result are good for the stacker. We're in stacker's paradise right now. We need more time to get into our position. And in that way, it's a win-win, right?
I agree.
I don't think we're going to convince them. I think we're just going to roll over them. Like, I don't think this is not going to be one in a Twitter argument or one in a podcast argument or one on.
Well, it's not going to be, but we need to equip the freaks with the facts, which is the green energy climate hysterics. There is no climate emergency. I've been tweeting that out. There is no, I'm convinced. I live on a barrier island. I'm literally 2 blocks away from the beach. I've lived here my whole life. Like, I'm not worried about going onto the ocean. If anybody should be worried, it should be literally me in this house right now. It is complete bullshit. These hysterics have been making these predictions for decades. They've been falling short. Again, this is something I say on Gamcast all the time. Obama's lead scientist, when he was in office in 1985, he said that 1 billion people across the world would die from climate-related deaths between 1985 and 2020, between 1985 and last year. Climate-related deaths fell by 80%. I believe something like 98% per capita, which is completely opposite of what these people are fear-mongering about. Again, this isn't about green energy. This is about control. If they cared about green energy, they would not have decommissioned the Indian Point nuclear facility in New York. Your family's electricity prices are going to go up because of this communist push to control energy consumption. It is evil. It is anti-human, and we need to start equipping people with the information to fight back against this, because it's literally going to make people worse off. Like, we're finding out pretty starkly this week how important pipelines are. And the U.S. government and the climate hysterics want people to decommission more and more pipelines. They're not letting new pipelines get built. They're LARPing. They do not care about the environment. They want to control you. They want to control me. They want to make it so they get to dictate who does what, where, when. And their energy is literally the source of how an economy runs, and they're attacking the source of the economy. And we need to start equipping people to fight back against this. And Elon, one of the most popular people on the planet, is falling prey to this incentive scheme, where he's probably leveraging it. He's probably smart enough to just leverage it. Be like, hey, this is where all the subsidies are going to go. This is what I'm going to do. And it's not like, we need to, like, again, strong men and women need to step up and say, fuck this. This is anti-human. This is going to make humanity extremely worse off. I'm done. Like, there is no climate emergency. I'm saying it straight up. There's no climate emergency. Arguably, we need to create more CO2. CO2 levels, in terms of like the whole global, the whole lifespan of the Earth, are actually like relatively low if you look at the data on a long time scale. Yeah. And then to try to paint me as a climate change denier, like a Holocaust denier. They try and throw that connotation on you. Fuck you. I don't care. There is no climate emergency. It's going to lead humanity down a terrible path if we keep doing this bullshit. And now I know I'm making you like a little nervous, Matt, but this is what I believe.
I'm just letting you run. Be free, Marty. Be free.
Well, I wore my American flag hat. I need a sip of Yingling. What do you think about all this? Am I wrong? Am I zealot? One extreme? Are you somewhere in the middle?
Yeah, I think usually people on the extremes are wrong, but I'm not. I just don't think. I think that I come from the perspective that politics in this country and debate in this country is pretty much unproductive at this point. And we should be focused on
it's not politics.
Tools that empower individuals and focus on systems that have proper incentives that are effective at change. And I think in the case of Bitcoin mining, it's an unstoppable force. So if you want to spend your time, arguing at a wall for the next 4 years or 5 years as Bitcoin mining continues to dominate the world, then that's your prerogative. But I have no intention of doing that. I'm just going to sit here. I'm not arguing
but I'm not going to sit there and this is why I get so animated. I hate logical inconsistencies. That's why I got so animated about COVID, the fucking mask, the vaccines. There's no logical consistency. And that's the thing that irks me the most. I don't like walking to a hostess stand with the mask on and then walking 10 feet next to them and ripping it off just because I'm sitting. It's logically inconsistent. Doesn't make sense. This is another one of those cases. This is logically inconsistent. These people claim to be environmentalists, claim to want to bring clean energy to the masses, yet they're decommissioning nuclear and natural gas power plants, which are the cleanest, most densest energy that we have on the planet right now. Like it's a goddamn shame what they just did on the Hudson to the Indian Point power plant. That's like one of the most reliable electricity production sites in the U.S. and they just shut it down because it's because they don't want you to use energy. They don't care about clean energy. Nuclear is the cleanest energy out there. It's got no carbon footprint outside of the carbon used to construct the plant, the diesel that goes into the engines of the trucks that construct the plant. Like these people don't care about green energy. They want to control you. They do not give a fuck about you. And it's gotten to the point, it's bipartisan too, here in America, where they're just like the Austin grid situation that happened earlier this year. That was Bush and Rick Perry, two Republicans, incentivized that wind and solar production with subsidies. This is not good, freaks. Like we need to be vocal about this. They are making us worse off. And I don't think
when
that's
you say climate emergency, you just mean CO2?
Climate emergency. Like, I don't think 1 billion people are going to die in the next decade if we don't turn off all. That's the other thing. It's like, it's not like I want to fucking take all the coal out of the world and set it on fire. Like we should be using natural gas and incentivizing nuclear power plants, which are the cleanest. Like this is clean energy. And yet they're going the complete opposite direction. Nuclear and nat gas, for their energy density, are the cleanest energy sources in the world outside of like hydro. Hydro is above nat gas. I bet it's cleaner, but it's not as dense, right? The amount of carbon that goes into producing wind and solar panels and sustaining those and recycling those, I would say that it's not as clean as nuclear and nat gas. But like that's the thing. Like I'm not saying like fucking dig all the coal around and burn up all the coal and bring back fucking smog cities like London, early industrial age. Like build more nuclear, build more reliable natural gas. Like yet these people don't want to do that. They're the cleanest energy and they deject it because they don't care about clean energy. They don't care about the environment. They care about control over what we can do because they have this vision of how the world should work in their mind, and they want it to be that way.
Right, but that's a CO2 argument again, right? So that's what you mean by climate emergency. There's no CO2 emergency.
No, there is no CO2 emergency. There isn't. I'll say it straight up. CO2, water is like 90% of the greenhouse gas up there. CO2 makes up such a small percentage of it. And again, we're not even close to the highest levels of CO2 that have ever existed on this planet. Go to energytalkingpoints.org. Our boy Alex Epstein, who's been on the podcast before, like energytalkingpoints.com. Go through it, like everything. They've been screaming climate emergency. People are going to die if we don't do anything since like the 70s. And the exact opposite has happened. Humanity has flourished. Cheap energy and electricity production correlates very tightly with human flourishing. And like we've already seen this play out in Germany. They forced everybody to move to renewable energy sources. It's 36 cents a kilowatt hour for residential energy there. That's fucking insanely expensive. They have to bring it in from across the border. New York City, with the shutdown of the nuclear plant and the fact that they don't allow producers to drill in the Marcellus Shale within the state for natural gas, they're going to have to just import natural gas. They're going to have to build a new natural gas facility to power electricity for New York City. Like, again, natural gas is relatively clean compared to diesel and coal, but nuclear is the cleanest, and they're giving up the cleanest. And then they're basically sending jobs out of their local economy and then importing gas, basically giving jobs to economies outside of New York State. It doesn't make any sense. It's fucking stupid. It's dangerous. It's extremely dangerous. And people are just walking into this. And again, that's why like everybody's freaking out about like Elon, like Bitcoin mining. This is bigger than Bitcoin mining. This is bigger than Bitcoin mining. This is humanity is, I mean, again, there's very powerful people in positions of power that have communist tendencies. They want to control you. This is not a conspiracy. Just, again, look at the incentives. Look at everything they're laying through, and we're going to show you the outcome. The incentives are pushing us towards unreliable energy generation. That's going to make humanity worse off. It's going to make electricity prices go off. And guess what? This is a racist, and this is a racist policy that affects the poor the most. That's who's going to get, like, they claim like they want to help people, but you increase electricity prices on the poorest people. Me and you are going to be fine. We're going to be able to. It's going to get a little bit more expensive, but I think we'll be able to afford it. The poorest people are not. They're going to have to basically weigh the opportunity cost. Do I fucking eat today, or do I pay my electric bill? Like that's where it's going to. And then you have people dying from negative externalities that extend from this terrible policy. Sorry, I become very passionate about this. Disclaimer: I work for Great American Mines natural gas as our fuel source.
So, I mean, state competition helps here, right?
No, well, it's at the federal level. Like the banning of fracking on federal lands, that affects it doesn't matter what state you are, what your laws are at the state level. The subsidies are at the federal level. So that's another thing. So in this Reuters article that explained the incentive program that the Biden administration is putting out there. So like, here's how it works. Like the entry of, says again, Reuters came out last night. The Biden administration expected to review the EPA applications, lay out how electric vehicles could qualify for tradable credits. So the tradable credits are creating this weird accounting system like carbon credits under the renewable fuel standards this summer. The two sources said the move could represent the largest expansion of the RFS program that was created by President George Bush. Again, it's bipartisan, doesn't matter, and aimed at boosting rural America and weaning the country off oil imports. The entry of Tesla and other electric vehicle makers to the renewable energy scheme could attract investment for a much-needed infrastructure network, including charging stations for electric vehicles. However, it is likely to anger some in the U.S. refining industry who would need to buy the credits known as RINs generated by Tesla and other alternative fuel providers, essentially subsidizing an electric car company that seeks to put petrochemical refiners out of business. You're creating a very perverse incentive system, and they're distorting the pricing mechanism of the energy markets by subsidizing Tesla with this credit system and then forcing oil producers to buy these credits to offset their carbon output. And so Tesla, even though it's more expensive to do what they do, the subsidies make it basically negative because then they get paid by oil companies that to buy their credits. It's a bullshit, LARPing, clown world accounting system that needs to be destroyed. Like, it is literally going to lead us to an unreliable grid system. And if you've been paying attention this year particularly, there's some cracks in the energy grid. and transportation systems.
What do you so you use the term climate emergency. What do you think about our water supply, fresh water supply and access to fresh water? Are you concerned about that, or do you think there's no reason to be alarmed there?
I don't know enough about the water supplies, to be honest.
So I mean, yeah, I tend to agree with pretty much everything you said. I'm not going to completely co-sign it, but the general premise, I think, our bureaucracy is very reminiscent of a failed state. It's just not really priced in yet. I am optimistic that between the incentives of Bitcoin mining and the fact that we have a relatively distributed governance system in America, and we've seen, through this crisis, states stand the fuck up. I mean, you see massive policy differences between a Florida or a Texas and a New York or a California. So I'm optimistic in that regard. And quite frankly, I'm going to go buy some land. I'm going to secure my water, and I'm going to have my own energy sources, and I'm just going to ride this thing out. And if you want to get on every week and rant at the freaks or rant with the freaks, like, I'm completely fine to be here and just have a drink with you.
Well, I'm not going to do this every week. I'm doing this because of what happened in the last 24 hours. But again, it is an instance, the Elon tweet and the posturing for the ability to have access to these credits, that set me off. This is so fucked. It's so ass backwards. And again, it's bipartisan. And again, I don't believe there's a climate emergency, but I'm a conservationist. I think what we're doing at Great American Mining, taking flare and using that and getting value out of those scarce molecules that were otherwise being literally set on fire and sent to the atmosphere, that's the environmentalism we should be working towards. Conservationism, efficiency, not brain dead transition to unreliable grid systems. It doesn't make any sense. And the trade-offs, again, like I said earlier, are not brought to the forefront. Nobody talks about the amount of coal that is needed to make these solar panels, the amount of lithium, the amount of cobalt, the amount of rare earth metals, the amount of diesel that's used to dig all that up, the amount of coal needed to recycle the solar panels, the land issues. The fact that windmills, when they're put in people's towns, are driving people crazy, like teens and then senior citizens, like the people between the ages of 15 and 18 and 70 and up in towns where windmills have been dropped off, have a significantly increased rate of suicide because there's sound pollution. Go listen to the episode I just recorded with Robert Bryce from the Power Hungry podcast. Like, literally, people are being driven crazy by these are the negative externalities that nobody wants to talk about. It's not good for people's mental health. But again, we should be as efficient as possible. I think Bitcoin mining incentivizes that stronger than any mechanism that humanity has ever seen. Obviously. Wait,
did you just? So, I mean, suicides because of wind turbines. That's not FUD.
No. Dude, the data's out there. You can there's a land, they literally use eminent domain to come in. And there's a big case going on in Iowa right now where the county's fighting back to we don't want these windmills. The federal government is backing Berkshire Hathaway and being fuck you, we're going to put these here. And there's instances of all over the world of windmills going into towns. It's driving people crazy. They get sleep disruption because the sound is just an ambient 24. There's data on this. I'm not bullshitting you. So go listen to the Robert Bryce episode after we record this today. And this guy is legit. But
you agree that people should be free to choose whichever energy mixes they want to use.
They should be able to use whatever they want. And that's why last night was a huge troll. Because I don't care if you're digging up lithium, just be upfront with the trade-offs. And that's people are oh, this is an end all be all savior to humanity. And it's just not true. And you're demonizing things like Bitcoin mining and fossil fuel use when you're basically hiding, you're pretending solar and wind particularly are come scot-free, scot-clean right out of the box. You can produce solar panels with solar energy. That's just literally impossible. And they don't talk about how much fossil fuels goes into that, how much land use goes into making it so that we can actually harness enough solar and wind energy to deliver it to a big enough society. it's all hidden. And then, but yet these people are getting subsidized and they're using more fossil fuels than people realize. It's very, very infuriating.
I mean, there's a shit ton of subsidies in the oil industry too, aren't there?
Not nowhere near as much. There's more. The taxes outweigh the subsidies by a large amount. All right. Crazy Uncle Marty came out. We had my rant. Let me know how I did, freaks. What's the comment section saying?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just against all subsidies in general.
Same. Yeah. And I'm against it. This is dangerous. That's all. This is why I'm so passionate about it. And it's not good. What do we got next? Hop in here.
I mean, you have the list. I can't look at it because I'm screen sharing.
I forgot that. Well, we'll jump into the hash rate all-time high. With that being said, Bitcoin miners are converting more electricity than ever to protect the Bitcoin ledger. We have an all-time high in hash rate, and this morning, as I mentioned, we did all-time high in difficulty as well.
This is a perfect example why it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well,
It's
so
like FUD is at an all-time high, but so is the consumption in the Bitcoin network. So
well,
like,
again,
who the fuck cares?
This is bigger than Bitcoin. This is like bigger than Bitcoin. That's the point I was trying to make with that whole diatribe there. With that being said, how will this affect Bitcoin in the future? Again, disclaimer, I work for Great American Mining. We are partial towards off-grid mining, but I think this is going to push a large portion of mining operations off-grid. Obviously, last week we talked about the bill on the floor in New York State that wants to put a 3-year mining moratorium on mining within the state. So I think you're going to probably see more of that idiotic legislation come to the floor. And I think, at least in North America, the trend will be off-grid mining. People are going to get pushed off the grid.
Yeah, I think that makes sense to me, and I like the idea of the fact that miners that are prepared to move are going to be more profitable in general, so that they're more robust for that reason. I mean, this goes right back into your previous discussion. Is that, you know, at the end of the day, whether it's Bitcoin or whether it's energy policy or whether it's tax policy, like, I believe in the competition of jurisdictions, and, you know, long term, that competition should result in, you know, better opportunities, better situations for people, as long as you have the means to move. If you don't have the means to move, there is no competition. And the means to move at the most basic level is probably twofold. You know, it's probably a mix of firearms and actually securing wealth. So I would say that people should be focused on stacking as many sats as possible and learning how to secure them and use them in a private manner.
Agreed. That's the other thing to watch. Like, thank God we have what's going on in Texas and Florida, and them proving that you don't need a vaccine passport to go in. Because like you said, as long as you're mobile, you should be good to go. But they're actively trying to make it so you can't mobilize with these vaccine passports. So thank God you have the UFC, Texas Rangers. You had a huge boxing match, Canelo, last weekend down at Dallas's stadium, proving that, like, hey, it's not the end of the world.
And what you see a lot too is, you know, especially, I mean, a mix of our constitutional protections, but also the fact that, you know, these governments are just wholly inefficient at this point. They're just aged bureaucracies that just don't get shit done effectively.
Dude,
they tend to lean on scare tactics because they can't enforce shit. So, like, right now, you would think that if you were traveling to or from New York, there'd be a bunch of restrictions and you have to do these things for them. But, like, I literally just got back from Georgia, flew to Georgia, flew back, nothing. There was absolutely nothing. You know, they just scare you into compliance. They scare you into thinking that, you know, you need to go and you need to get your vaccine passport and you need to do this and that and this in order to travel, and that you should feel guilty for traveling. But you can just fucking get a plane ticket, you know, go and fly there and fly back. No problem.
Yeah, it's like the CDC tweeting out today, like, now if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask inside or out. It's like, motherfucker, I haven't worn a mask in like 8 months. Like, They like expect people to just listen to them. How about fucking De Blasio eating Shake Shack and telling people that they can get free Shake
Well,
Shack?
no, someone just like authorized hugs are allowed now. Was it Ottawa or something? Was it in Canada? I think they were like in 10 days hugs will be permitted again. Like
What?
if you were waiting for the government to tell you that you could hug someone,
You got problems.
then good luck. I don't know.
Honestly, though, it's like it's insane, freaks. Like, fuck, man.
Dude, the firm handshake is hot right now.
It's real. Well, dude, I had an instance earlier today. We got our dryer fixed. We had to get like a new coil and band at the bottom of the dryer, and the guy, South Jersey, thickest South Jersey accent ever. Yeah, dude, like I haven't fucking seen anybody in a few months. And like when he left, I was like, thank you. I didn't have a Jersey accent. I said, thank you. And like he went, like it was a complete, like he went for the fist bump, and I came in for a firm handshake. He was like, "Oh, damn, man, I haven't done this in a while." No, I just got like, I just fucked up my Jersey accent.
The normal handshake is the secret handshake now,
right? He was like, "Oh, I've been used to like elbow bumping and like fist bumping." I like went for the firm handshake. He's like, "It's time to get back to normal." He's like, "I'm vaccinated." I was like, "Good for you, man. Good for you." And then he was like, "You came into the house." I was like, "You can take your mask off. You don't have to wear it." He's like, "Dude, like I fucking been wearing this so long. Like if I take it off, I start putting my tools in my mouth." I'm like, "What the fuck is going on with you?" You're driving people crazy, man. Let's get back to normal, freaks. Let's get back to normal. Don't let these evil look. De Blasio eating like the way they have to incentivize to get these people to take vaccines is getting so weird. First it was like Krispy Kreme, then it was like a shot.
It's all unhealthy shit.
A shot in a beer, you get Shake Shack. In Ohio, they're giving out like $1 million lotteries to vaccinate.
Yeah, what is that? That's five people get $1 million.
Yeah, if you get vaccinated in Ohio, like what? It's all weird, man. It's weird. It's weird. We had a particular freak that wanted us to talk about this vulnerability. We should front load it with vulnerabilities. We front loaded it with a vulnerability on society. They're DDoSing society. We need to make everybody aware of this vulnerability that exists.
Marty responded from the DDoS attack with his own denial of service.
I'm sorry, freaks. I don't even know how far we are. Cake waffle.
We literally have the clock in the bottom left. We've been going for 52 minutes.
Oh, boss. Whoa. Cake wallet vulnerability. This is an iOS, Bitcoin, and Monero wallet, correct?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's historically a Monero wallet. They added Bitcoin like a month ago or something.
Mm-hmm. And they have a problem with their seed phrase generation. Doesn't have enough entropy or something like that.
Yeah, the seeds they generated weren't secure. You have to update, make a new seed, and transfer your money off. I mean, you should just transfer to a different wallet.
Yeah. This is one of the
give them some time
vulnerabilities you don't come back from unless.
Yeah, I don't think anyone actually lost money yet. I think they discovered it themselves. But if you use Cake Wallet, if you use the Bitcoin portion, go in there and send your Bitcoin to a different wallet. If you're on an iPhone, consider Moon Wallet, MUUN. Android, Samurai Wallet, Moon Wallet, MUUN. I love Moon Wallet, dude. All my bets this weekend in Georgia were all Moon Wallet.
Boss.
It's great. I think that's another reason we dumped probably. It wasn't very humble this weekend.
Oh, no?
Yeah, what are you going to do? I got us a buying opportunity, freaks.
Is your driver still free after the last couple of days?
Yeah.
Tell that.
Dude, that driver, I can hit my driver so well now just because I got 21% sats back on it last year, and Bitcoin was at through Fold app, and Bitcoin was at $6,000, $7,000. So the sats back alone is worth pretty much double the original cost of the driver. So you automatically play better golf. You automatically play better golf in that situation, I think.
Yeah, when it's just damn.
Should have bought a whole new set of clubs. Just in hindsight, I didn't even think about it.
I need to get a set of clubs. I need to stop using my father-in-law's clubs. It makes me feel like a little boy. I need to get my own clubs. Let's just push this up the list since we mentioned Monero and we're talking about energy pipelines. Colonial Pipeline ransomware attack. Did it happen?
No, it happened in between.
It started last Friday, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they like to do the ransomware attacks after RHR airs, so we can't cover it for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
everyone plans their schedule around RHR drop.
Yeah, and I'm sure you freaks are aware of it by now, but if you're not, a lot of you freaks are international, so maybe this isn't making it to the global audience. But here in the United States, there was a pipeline, the Colonial Pipeline, pipeline system, multiple pipelines that were subject to a ransomware attack. So what was it? DarkSide
ransomware group.
Yeah, we'll get into this.
This is the largest ransomware ever.
Yeah,
ransomware attack ever.
Essentially, they attacked Colonial Pipeline system. So this is another thing that we need to talk to. I'm going to get your views on, or not views, like see what you're hearing. Got ransomware attacked, shut down the pipelines going from Houston all the way up the East Coast to New Jersey. And as a result, gasoline, jet fuel, diesel has not been able to be delivered to gas stations and I assume airports as well. So in the southeast part of the country, particularly Georgia, you're lucky you got out of there, North Carolina, Louisiana, Austin, Storms from Great American Mining. He was telling me he couldn't find gas at a bunch of gas stations. The gas stations ran dry. You also had the combination, the pipeline.
Did you have gas by you?
Yeah, I filled up yesterday or 2 days ago. Haven't obviously been back, but it's pretty dead down here. There's not a lot of people down here, so I'm not too worried where I am.
We got Freak AK in the comments saying that
it was the billing system. It was the invoice. That's what I wanted to say. Like, is that like?
But then he said the pipeline and the flow is fine. But if the pipeline and the flow is fine, then why do we have shortages everywhere?
Well, tinfoil hat, Uncle Marty's coming back again. Yeah, they attacked the invoicing system. So like the argument is like they couldn't invoice people, so they weren't comfortable delivering the oil and gas. But it's like just controlled demolition, man. Just COVID.
I mean, so your original take was, I saw the bent where you said that you thought it was a false flag attack against Bitcoin.
Potentially.
But dude, our infrastructure is so fucking vulnerable. Like again,
like this, and I wrongly in that bent, hand up, said that like the pipeline infrastructure was hooked up to the internet. It's not. It's very manual. I've come to learn. They literally just ransomware the invoicing system so they can invoice their end clients. And that was the justification for not delivering the gas, which I find a little weird. Like maybe you should do it, pull out a fucking pen and paper.
Well, I mean, Bloomberg's saying that they paid $5 million in ransom, right? So they didn't pay $5 million in ransom if it wasn't, a substantial, disruption to their operations. To call it like an invoicing system simple. Like, how these like this company's probably been around forever. They have like they have all of their systems in place. Like everything's built on top of each other, and you have like just a complete lockout of your computers. Even if it's just like on the management side, completely grind you to a halt.
Controlled demolition, man. Nah, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, a lot of these pipelines go back to like
I mean, Marty, you literally just spent like an hour ranting about how our infrastructure is fucked. And then now like our infrastructure got fucked because it's fucked. And then that's, a false flag.
I was joking. I don't know if it's false flag, but it is a little suspicious because like I was just about to say, these pipelines are pretty old from what I understand, like constructed around World War II era before the internet. So like the literal delivery of the commodities, like you're able to do it without the internet, pre-internet age. And again, like this, if tinfoil hat on, you wanted to push people towards unreliable green technologies, be like, oh, the fucking pipeline system needs to be rebuilt. You know what? Why don't we just like do green technology? Now I'm getting out there, but regardless,
I feel like if anything, having the pipeline narrative is like, it makes you wish that, our pipeline system was more robust. Like you see the value prop of the pipeline.
Exactly. And they're shutting down Dakota and Keystone.
So it's logically inconsistent though.
Why is that logically?
Like, I don't see, it just doesn't, it just does not seem like it's anywhere close to like a false flag to me.
Okay. Ransomware. Let's get to the ransomware. Let's get the dark side.
Like, I think like people have been, people in government have been fudding Bitcoin based on the ransomware FUD, which is something we've talked about in the past on the podcast. This idea that, just because a money is used for a ransom doesn't make it inherently criminal. When someone gets kidnapped and, if you have to pay the kidnapper in dollar bills in a in a duffel bag, like the dollar bills aren't at fault. It's just good money used for a ransom, as it would be used for any other kind of business deal. But like, I don't know if that's necessarily FUD. Like, I think, I mean, it's a poor take to blame Bitcoin, but the conclusion that our grid and our fucking infrastructure is insanely vulnerable and underfunded, and we're not prepared at all for, properly funded adversarial actors like coming at us, like, seems like a valid concern to me. Like, I don't think like we're very prepared as a nation for that shit.
Agreed. And as is my thesis has been, I believe energy producers are going to become some of the largest Bitcoin miners in the world. So maybe Bitcoin fixes this, not directly. You're not going to like hash information or like use a fucking Bitcoin private key to sign into any systems. But if you're leveraging excess energy throughout your production stack as a private energy producer, you're highly incentivized to make sure it is as secure as possible. I mean, a lot of these systems, I'm sure, are running on like Windows XP and are just getting fucking murked left and right.
Yeah, exactly. Fucking crazy. They might be running on shit older than Windows XP.
Yeah. So let's talk about dark side a little bit. Like gray hats, they're like the McDonald's of the hack ransomware.
Well, they released a statement. They were like, we didn't mean to cause geopolitical disruptions. We're just trying to make money.
It's all weird. Like, did you see obviously you posted the creds on security. I think it was on No Bullshit Bitcoin. I saw you retweet it, but like the back and forth between the Colonial team and the dark side teams, like the negotiations in the text were so weird.
Oh, that was the thing for the freaks. There's a confusion of Krebs. There's two different Krebs. I don't even think they're related.
Oh, yeah, it's so weird. So yes, I got it. There was a Krebs on.
Chris Krebs is the government guy, right? And then Brian Krebs is. Or did I get the
blogger? The blogger.
Yeah, he's the InfoSec guy.
So Brian Krebs is always like. So Brian Krebs, I've been following. We've shared.
Right, he's got great takes.
Yeah, we've shared his reports on RHR many times throughout the years, and then this Chris Krebs guy who was in the Trump administration. And I knew that there was a Krebs in the Trump administration. I just assumed it was Brian. He went on Bill Maher. We talked about this last week or the week before. And I assumed it was Brian Krebs. And he was
flooding Bitcoin based on ransomware.
Yeah. But now Brian Krebs, not the guy flooding Bitcoin.
So he did like a deep dive on dark side, because the thing is, like, it's like a victim of a lot of like assault crimes and stuff, right? Where like these companies, they get hit by ransomware and they don't want to talk about it, right? So they just pay it under the table and then they never release anything public. So there's a lot of, there's a lot of details we don't know about these operations because they just hit people and they scale it based on their business. Like in this case, it's the rumor is they paid $5 million. But for instance, like I had a family friend who like her small business got hit, right? And it was a $7,000 ransom, right? So they like scale it to try and make it so it's an amount that you'd be willing to pay and you're more likely to pay than try and restore a backup or start fresh. So that's an interesting concept. The second thing that's interesting with this organization is it appears they sell their software out just like as a package, like ready to go. So other criminals can then use their software on people. So it's not just them. And they were trying to deflect blame here, saying they didn't do it. They sold it to someone and that person hacked the pipeline. And they said, don't worry, we're going to vet our future clients better in the future, which is fucking hilarious.
See, this is,
and then Brian Krebs did a deep dive based on the last known large ransomware done by this group. And it was a particular organization. And that's where we got a lot of our details that we know right now.
Yes.
Because Colonial Pipeline people aren't talking about it.
Just got a text.
So we get our details from the previous one that's public.
I just get a group text. My dad, one of his friends I haven't talked to. Bitcoin not looking good today. Sorry, Rich. Thanks for thinking of us. But yes, the Krebs that we like put out, but like, dude, So I'm sitting down with her tomorrow morning, Whitney Webb. Be on the lookout for that, freaks. We talked about this last year. Like 2021 is the year of the cyber attack, dude. And there's been posturing. You had Jerome Powell on 60 Minutes a couple months ago or last month saying that he's not worried about inflation or credit risk in the economy. He's more worried about cyber attacks. Like the projection and the preparation, the like front running of the narrative, the setup. Again, if I were a conspiratorial dude, I'd be like, yeah, it's a little too convenient. And then again, like the back and forth between Colonial and the dark side client, whoever got access to the ransomware, it's just like a really too straightforward of a negotiation process. It was really weird that Krebs had all that back and forth text and was able to like publish it. Like, I don't know.
No, but I mean, Krebs published the previous is from the previous ransom that was done to a different company.
But they were talking about
gave him insight. Bloomberg, the allegedly the dark side ransomware hackers they posted a public posting on a Tor Onion service site on a dark website, like a forum or something, and Bloomberg picked that up and did that. That was their public release, and that was after the Biden administration said they were forming a task force. There was like Russian hackers or whatnot, and then they released their statement via Tor.
Yeah.
I'm just pushing back here because the idea of America not being prepared for cyber attacks is a narrative that has been around for a decade, if not longer. This is something that we've heard many, many times. If you repeated it enough, you were going to get some confirmation bias at some point and say that it was unrealistic.
That's a good point. It's a good point.
It should happen more often. Like, I feel like we should just be getting fucking hit left and right.
What's your favorite like ransom cyber attack movie?
I mean, just Mr. Robot. Mr. Robot fucking...
Still haven't watched it.
Mr. Robot called this whole thing.
I'm a die hard, live to see another day, or whatever that one was. Live free or die, I think it might have been. And then Speed. Speed was a great like ransom. Dennis Hopper, very good in that movie. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe it is confirmation bias because I have talked about that with Whitney like twice. She was like 2021, year of the cyber attack. Because they did like some like preparation event, like event 210 or whatever it was, when they like predicted COVID in October of 2019, and it played out exactly like they did something similar this time last year as well. Tinfoil hat, Uncle Marty's going back in his cage, freaks. We got to get on to the next topic, which is the fact that Michael Saylor, MicroStrategy, stacks more sats. $20 million worth? $15 million worth?
It was 15. It was like their little dollar cost averaging they do.
Average
Love
price
to see it.
Average price of 55,387.
Yeah, it was before the dip.
Yes.
But he also, did you see he replied directly to Elon's tweet, which is fun. It's fun seeing billionaires go at each other on Twitter over Bitcoin.
All right. Elon, man. God. I regret. I went like search Marty Bent, Elon Musk to see like what I've stanned him pretty hard. Not too hard. Like I'm like, oh, let me suck your dick, Elon. But it's like I like SpaceX. The fact that you can like send them up again, like how much is that run? Somebody sent a stat out. I can't confirm it. Can't confirm or deny whether this is a true stat, but like one rocket going up and landing back on Earth, the amount of jet fuel used. Rocket fuel used in that would be enough to power a car for 200 years or 200 cars for a year.
What kind of car?
I guess just your average. I guess they take the average.
What's your source on that, Marty?
Somebody responded to one of my tweets last night. That's
so
just an internet sleuth.
Gotcha.
Don't know if it's true. Matt, I know I'm frustrating you because I'm just running wild. This one. Recent CPI numbers released. 4.2.
I'm in a great mood, Marty.
Do you think
life is good? Good vibes, firm handshakes. Let's fucking stack some sats.
Firm handshakes. We got yingies on deck. Firm handshake. Hell, yo, dude, I haven't fucking shook someone's hand in a year. This felt good.
Your accent changes every time.
I've been watching Mayor of Easttown on HBO, and again because it's in Delco where I grew up. But see, I grew up in Northeast Philly. We moved to Charleston, South Carolina, and then we moved back to Delco. So when we moved to Charleston, they like beat the Philly accent out of me. I
Makes sense.
couldn't see water down there. I had to say yes, ma'am, yes, sir. But moving back to Delco outside the Philly area has like its own distinct accent. And like watching the show and watching people like actors, British actress, I forgot if Rose from the Titanic. The
Good old Rose.
try to do like a Delco accent. It just gives me much joy.
She must stack, right? Feel like once you survive a major boating accident, you know, you're predestined to climb into the lifeboat that is Bitcoin.
Yeah.
My dog's sneezing at my horrible joke.
Dude, should we jump into some Titanic conspiracy theories?
What's your Titanic conspiracy theory?
I mean, it's not mine. I didn't come up with it, but like one of the theories is that like it didn't hit a fucking iceberg. It sunk.
Definitely hit an iceberg.
It was sunk because they were against the Federal Reserve. That's one of the conspiracy theories.
Oh, I did see that one.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they placed the iceberg there.
Or they heard they just placed some bombs and it looked like it. Like, yeah, who knows? Who knows? Don't move to Kensington, Philadelphia.
It is an iceberg.
The Kensington in Philadelphia is nothing. I'm reading the comments. Is nothing like the Kensington in London. If you wanna sit under the Frankfurt Owl and watch people do heroin all day, you can move to Kensington, Philadelphia. The CPI numbers though, 4.2%, 4.16% for being more descriptive, shocked a lot of Fed governors. Like, oh my God, this is higher than we expected. It's like, what the fuck did you expect? And it
was lower than all of us expected. And
Right?
they're like, oh my God, who saw it coming?
Well, that's the thing. And I highly recommend you freaks go listen to the episode I recorded with Matty Mazinksius, and he actually brings up a good point towards the middle of that episode. Like, inflation is so hard. Like, obviously CPI is bunk. It's not representative of inflation at all. But like, even if you were to try to create your own basket of goods to track inflation, like it still wouldn't be accurate because everybody has different preferences and different times in which they need to buy things. So one person's basket of goods isn't indicative of everybody. Everybody's got different taste. But a metric that he puts in his quarterly monetary base update, which came out today, Q1 2021 came out today. That's why we recorded the episode. Bitcoin is now the number 6, the 6th largest base money in the world, ex gold, 7th if gold is included, which is pretty massive. 12 years climbed to number 6 in terms of base money. But when trying to measure the reduction in purchasing power, instead of looking like an inflation index, he says you should look at the value produced in GDP terms of $1 invested. And he compared 2000, $1 invested would produce $17 in GDP, and today it's $3. So you basically have like a massive inflation or reduction in purchasing power or productivity of $1. It's probably the better way to put it over the last 21 years. So that it's like 5x less productive.
I mean, this is known, right?
Yeah.
It's known by the freaks, at least. It
Yeah.
shouldn't be news.
No, but I like this metric. And so it's like, instead of trying to find like, oh, should we use shadow stats? Should we like use the CPI plus a certain percentage? I think this metric that is ironclad, you can look at the public data and track it throughout time is much better.
Fair enough. I mean, I've seen you've been tweeting out.
You are so frustrated right now.
I've seen you've been tweeting out Weimar memes lately.
Got some Weimar kids behind me. And that's the other thing. Like, dude, the
Sounds
fact
like a bad 90s band.
Weimar things.
I thought you said Weimar kids.
Oh yeah, Weimar kids. So signs, right? Pipeline shutting down. People are fucking crazy, loading fucking plastic bags with gasoline.
Was that confirmed?
The gasoline and
plastic bags,
I
gasoline.
mean, I saw pictures and videos. I'm assuming that
Someone said the videos were from. I saw someone else said the videos were from like a hurricane or something.
Sandy or something like that. Maybe we got. Fuck, I can't trust the internet. Snopes, debunk me. But regardless, pipeline shut down. I think it's a well-known fact that gas stations were running dry, depending on how long. Earlier this week, Bloomberg came back with an article like even if Colonial Pipeline System paid the ransom and got the pipelines back up and running, it would take 15 days to still replenish everything. So that's pretty long time. I don't know if that's true. It's Bloomberg is my source if you're looking for sources.
I thought you said earlier that the pipeline was flowing this whole time though.
And had the ability to flow, but the invoicing was shut down.
Gotcha.
They didn't flow it. And that's one of the stories I heard. I was asking if you had more information on that. Cannot confirm or deny.
I mean, it makes sense to me that this shit has knock-on effects and fucking, the first thing I did was I, filled up my car, made sure that I had, gas. I'm not one. I'll be skeptical, but we can still prepare at the same time. You don't have to be an idiot about it.
Yeah, but the Weimar thing. So it's like this thing, like you just see.
Oh yeah. Degradation
of infrastructure. Even though it was a ransomware attack, like if people couldn't get gas for 2 weeks, that would make people very angry, and they'd start to lose confidence in the government's ability to control things. And then, like, dude, the other side that I talked about is the fact that people are just deciding not to go back to work because they're making more on it. Like it's lit. Like we talked about it last year, but like now it's actually happening. Like people aren't going. Like Chipotle's, McDonald's,
and they're not even getting paid as much as I expected them to be getting paid.
Right. So that
do we have more UBI in the cards? Like, is it gonna be more checks for people? Marty, how soon do you think hyperinflation will happen?
I don't know.
Do you think hyperinflation is going to happen within 2 years?
I mean, the CPI is at 4.16% right now. Like, dude,
if you think hyperinflation is going to happen in 2 years, it's just like not. I wouldn't say is the craziest thought. If you think it's going to happen in 5 years. Is it really worth it to argue with people over green energy when we have hyperinflation around the corner?
Probably not.
Like that probably just throws everything out the window regardless, right?
Stop lecturing me, Matt. Let me rant. Energy people, please. Please let me have this.
Yeah, I just, you can have it. Like I said, I enjoyed it. Let them rip.
No. Well, if we don't have hyperinflation, you got to err on the side of caution.
I'm just saying there's no need to be upset in that regard to me, because I just think it's like a distraction for the masses. So why are we getting distracted by it? We're above that.
I feel very passionate about it, though, considering my line of business outside of this media company. And again, because if you listen to Gamcast, we've had a few people on to describe, and the oil and gas industry provides very good jobs for people in the middle of the country, a part of the country that's been completely hollow out and destroyed and forgotten and laughed at and called fucking bumfuck cousin fuckers and just scoffed at by the coastal elite. The oil and gas industry in North Dakota, Oklahoma, throughout the country, it provides very good jobs for people with high school education. They don't have to go to college, yet they can make six figures, have a family, have a community. And like these jobs are being ripped from people. As soon as Biden came in office, Keystone Pipeline, done. Like jobs just gone. People, like videos of people working on that pipeline crying. They're making $120,000, high school educated, living in the middle of the country, able to buy a home, provide for a family. And these idiotic policies just completely shit on a part of the country that's been completely decimated over the last 5 days. It's like literally kicking people while they're down. And that's why I get passionate.
I mean, I respect that. And I'm pro energy infrastructure in general, pro pipelines in general. But I would say that I would echo a concern that you mentioned with the wind turbines, that when eminent domain is used, to line the pipelines, there's probably a lot of property rights concerns that happen there, which would be my biggest. That would be the first thing I would think. Like if someone tried to run a pipeline through my future citadel, I'd flip shits.
Yeah,
or put a turbine up, whatever they want to do, or try and kick me off the land.
Yeah. Well, how would you feel if they did eminent domain and they kicked you off your land and they only left like half the pipeline built?
I know that'd be worse. That'd be the worst.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, That's why I get passionate about that stuff. But CPI, year-over-year inflation in April, 4.16%. And this surprised, you had Fed governors coming out, be like, oh my gosh, how's it this high? It's like, how could you not expect it to be this high? Like, this just proves how disconnected these academics are, these central planners are from the real world. Anybody looking at a grocery bill, you literally, do these people not drive by gas stations? Do they not see the increase in gas prices even before the pipeline shut down? Like, do they not see what's going on in the housing markets across the country? Like, people literally buying same houses offer same day in cash 10-20% over asking.
Dude, that shit's scary as fuck, man.
Right? Like, is it here? Like, when you're like, how far is it? Like,
imagine Bitcoin is dumping in this environment.
Right?
It just seems like I can't even I'm like tapped out. I can't get more money into the market. I'm feeling massive FOMO.
Right. Yeah, I'm as well. Fuck. Yeah. And you had the shit coiners and the no coiners pouring on, like, oh, the inflationary environment and Bitcoin's dumping. It's like,
that's what I'm saying. Let them do it.
I agree.
Like our boy Francis now, you see, he's going to pen a whole post that the only response should be cry harder, bitch.
Francis Paulette?
Yep.
What's he doing?
He's going to do a whole post that our only response should be cry harder, bitch. Anything more than that is, ineffective and a waste of time.
I like that. I can get down with that. Cry.
Yeah, it's the same idea as like have fun staying poor, right? Like what happened? Like we're supposed to have our Bitcoin Zen here. We're gonna accumulate, and if they don't want to participate, then they don't have to participate.
I agree. I have my Bitcoin Zen. I'm not worried about Bitcoin. That's why you see me talking about like energy and the grids and shit and like cyber attacks more. I'm completely in my Bitcoin Zen zone. I love these dips. Have you been noticing? Is this somewhat mirroring 2017 to you? ETH pump.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a fucking like people are surprised. Narrative. Like Dogecoin is Ripple. It's the same exact shit. It's fucking, but bigger numbers, more people, more shit coins, more schemes. New ideas on old scams.
Dude, once ETH flippins Bitcoin, what's going to stop
the flippening narrative? Like all it takes is like a couple green candles, a couple weeks of green candles, and all the flippening toxic bros come out. And then afterwards, when we're dunking on them, they're going to be like, well, you guys were always mean to us. We never said that we were competing with you. Like it's complimentary. It's not a competition. Same shit, man.
Once ETH flippins Bitcoin, what's going to stop Doge from flipping Bitcoin?
This is always going to happen.
When's the tripling going to happen? ETH 2.0, man. It's the future. It's coming.
Always going to it can be infuriating if you let it be infuriating.
Agreed. Shout out to our boy Full-Time Bitcoin, made me aware in the comments, and Elon just responded to Michael Saylor. And it's just a bunch of Bitcoin energy FUD articles. Like, oh, suck my dick, Elon. Full-Time Bitcoin. I know you're a Tesla bull. Teslas fucking suck, dude. I'm sorry. Kidding. I love you. Thank you for the cigar, Bitcoin. BitBlock Boom 2019.
Yeah.
This is interesting. U.S. government is probing Binance.
Yeah, this was the second piece of FUD. This was the FUD that knocked us back down today. The FUD is like 2017 all over again, too. But this time we have like the FUD goes through Bloomberg terminals in all caps. Like we never had that one before. That's exciting.
When the FUD comes, freaks, you just go. You just cheer on the FUD. Bring it all. It's coming. Yeah, but
it feels so good, man. We still got a fucking edge. Just embrace it.
Yeah. What's happening to Binance? The IRS, the U.S. government's trying to make sure there's no money.
No, it's fine. But Binance like released a statement like we'll bend the knee. We've always bent the knee. Like what? Like it's just same old bullshit.
Yeah. I don't assume you've used Binance, but I actually got a Binance question today. Is Binance trying to force people to use their token to like move coins on their exchange? Because somebody was like, "Oh,
they have." I mean, I'm not really sure. I haven't used it ever, but they have like a Ethereum competitor that's just like a super centralized copycat of Ethereum. And that is supposed to be a quote unquote decentralized exchange. And that requires the use of BNB, if my understanding is correct.
Are they like
BNB is a centralized shitcoin that also comes with regulatory concerns because it is probably considered an unregistered security by regulators. So if you own any, consider it basically zero at any moment. That could happen.
Yeah. Be aware. But like, are they trying to force people? Like, are they gouging?
Probably. They shotgun KYC, you know, like CZ is a businessman. He's a fucking hustler, but he's always looking for another edge to, you know, make more money and pump the price of BNB or pump whatever scheme he's got going on.
CZ, you guys don't
That's
even.
why, like, if you think he's gonna like act in good faith as like a 10% hash rate pool on Bitcoin, like I have a bridge to sell you. I have some shit coins to sell you if you believe that shit.
Agreed. Should we go into like CZ's history before Binance? Do you guys know about the OK Coin wood chipper?
OK Casino.
OK Casino. CZ's been running casinos since the early days, freaks. Be aware. Grayscale talking about, I don't want to call them a casino. They have a bit higher pedigree than casino, I would say. Bitcoin Trust hits record discount of over 20%. Barry shoveling billions of dollars in now.
Dude, something's really bad. Something's really rotten over there.
What do you think? Because Barry's just shoveling money in. It's like that Fairly Odd Parents.
If everything was okay over there, that 20% discount would get bought the fuck up so easily.
Right?
It seems like.
Well, and then that's the other.
Like allegedly, like BlockFi is like major exposed to that trade. So
well, you know what? They're probably freaking
not your
out.
keys, not your coins. If these types of environments, especially in bull markets with regulatory pressure and FUD coming out about Binance and Elon coming after Bitcoin, and just at any moment you could have major fucking moves in terms of price. I mean, this was the second time in like 3 weeks that we had a downward move that liquidated as much Bitcoin as the March move. They're just like normalized now. And in those situations, that's when you start to see trouble happen in exchanges and people lose their fucking money at custodians. So like, you got to be extra fucking careful, and really Bitcoin Zen is reached when you're holding custody yourself.
Honestly, it's like the best peace of mind you can bring to yourself is custody your keys, freaks. But there's a Twitter account. I've been following him for a while. I really like his account, Macroscope17. And this is like why, if I were Barry, I'd be worried. And maybe one of the reasons why he's shoveling money into this. He's been just basically scouring SEC filings for institutions piling into Bitcoin. And over the last 2 days, he's documented a bunch of institutions piling in the GBTC. And the filing today is from yesterday, Signcast Management. So obviously we have all the quarterly earnings reports coming out now since Q1 is over. Signcast Management, based in Princeton, New Jersey, reported owning 55,000 shares of Grayscale Bitcoin Trust as of March 31st. In filing today, Essex Investment Management, based in Boston, reported owning 45,292 shares of Grayscale Bitcoin Trust as of March 31st. Formidable Asset Management, based in Cincinnati, reported owning 41,725. Morse Asset Management, 63,364. So you have all these like large asset managers and institutions that have been dumping into GBTC in Q1. It's coming at this discount. Do you think they're dumping because of the discount, or?
Well, they're buying into it.
Yeah.
So that should be good for GBTC, but the fucking discount goes lower and lower. Like, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
Unless something's really, really fucked.
What's disconnected there?
I think a lot of people were doing the fucking
carry trade.
Yeah, and they got caught with their fucking pants down. They loaned a bunch of fucking Bitcoin to do the trade. And they got caught with their pants down. I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, we always see narratives get played out where people say like, this is the reason for a dump, this is the reason for the dump. People are always going like dump hunting for narratives, but a lot of times there's like shit happening behind the scenes that's getting priced in. And you know, maybe there's dramatic concern behind the scenes over this shit. Like it, and I am sympathetic to people who say that this feels like the newest Tether FUD. But I would say it feels to me more like the Gox FUD, which turned out to not be FUD. But that's what someone who is Tether FUDing would say. So I don't fucking know, but all I know is you're fucking crazy if you're holding it in one of these custodians that's connected to this shit. And like, I'm not saying you should sell your Bitcoin. I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying you should fucking stay humble and stack sats. But like, you're not stacking if you're fucking keeping it with the custodian. So just be wary, freaks. Like there could be some crazy shit that happens, and you just, as long as you don't have leverage, as long as you're humble, as long as you have custody of your keys, you're insulated.
Agreed. Bring that peace of mind. And speaking of Tether, you mentioned Tether. There was Tether news today too. We don't have on the list
because it was like a non-story. It was a non-story to me because they didn't say like, oh, 50% of our assets are in Bitcoin. They like listed what's backing their USD Tether. And it's like T-bills, savings accounts, right? It's like whatever. Yeah. It's like what you would expect. And you have to trust them on it.
Yeah, that was weird. Somebody was like only 3.87% was backed reserve. But then you go to the story, it's like as of March 31st, Tether held nearly 76 of its reserves in cash and cash equivalents.
The real Bitfinex was this guy who FUDed Tether since $800 and said that when Bitcoin was at $800 that it was going to dump because of Tether. And me and him got into so many different arguments on Twitter. This is one of the reasons, Marty, where I say it's just not even worth it, the energy shit. And he deleted his tweets and blocked me. And like, it was just like such a fucking waste of time. People can't even go back and learn from it because he was a fucking bitch about it. And the real nail in the coffin was fucking Coinbase adding Tether. Coinbase is a fucking hyper regulated company that's publicly traded that like does every single cut coiner thing and would never fucking, you know, they try and be as compliant over the top as possible. And they added Tether as a trading pair on their exchange. So game, set, match on that one.
Tether FUD doesn't exist. I saw like some traditional. I mean,
it's still a third party. You shouldn't trust them, but
yeah, it's not moving the Bitcoin price.
It'd be super bullish for Bitcoin if they fucking went down anyway.
Right.
Everyone would just panic and go into Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's the only place they can go with their Tether.
Right? At least the, you know, the anons, the non-regulated types.
Yeah. Well, that's actually one thing I wanted to touch on, the dark side that you touched on Citadel Dispatch. We don't know yet. It hasn't been clear if it's paid in Bitcoin or Monero, but yeah, I think you brought up a good point. It's hard for some people to stomach, hard for some people to come to grips with, but I believe you described it as a canary in the coal mine.
So the one that Krebs on security was talking about, the last one, and that's the one we know about, because the Colonial Pipeline hasn't released anything specifics. And if you look, none of the articles mention Bitcoin or Monero. They never mention either. They just say cryptocurrency. The one before this, there was a 20% discount if you paid in Monero. So they accepted Bitcoin or Monero, and it was a 20% discount if you pay Monero. And my comment was, it's kind of like they're pricing. They're saying that it costs 20% to use Bitcoin privately.
Yeah, and Anthony was like, it's probably going to mixing fees, and
yeah, it's expensive to use Bitcoin privately.
That maybe even transitioning into Monero.
You'd have slippage if you were transitioning into Monero. If you mixed and then transitioned to Monero, I mean, 20% is probably a little bit high. but it's like it's just interesting to me. It's like kind of a free market price on privacy.
No, I think you made a really good point in that. I don't want to call it a rant, but that it's not a rant, whatever, that your explanation of this thing. Like, hey, like if Bitcoin doesn't work for criminals, it really doesn't work as a digital money, right?
Well, I just like historically speaking, like criminals are, especially very successful global criminals that make a lot of money. They're on the cutting edge, right? And they're exploring, how to use these things. So if they think it's 20% worse for them to accept Bitcoin, then that's a data point that we should be taking into account, and we should, be focused on making it easier for people to use Bitcoin, because the average user that isn't conducting ransomware all the time is going to be way less equipped to be able to handle this type of thing. Now, one thing to keep in mind, though, is that there's not a direct proportion in terms of, it doesn't scale linearly if you're trying to use Bitcoin privately. The larger amounts is worse. There's probably like a middle ground percentage-wise where, like, if it's too little, then it costs a lot percentage-wise because of on-chain fees. But as you get more, your volume is just so high. Like if you're trying to be, like the Bitfinex hackers, 100,000 Bitcoin, you're trying to hide 100,000 Bitcoin, and these CoinJoin implementations aren't using that much, right? So it's really hard to it'll be more expensive to use it privately in that situation than if you were trying to, pay $100 bar tab or something.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Add some liquidity to CoinJoin, freaks. Get Taproot activated. We didn't, not that it's going to solve all of our privacy issues, but it'll certainly help and lead us in the right direction. I did not mention this when we were looking at Clark's dashboard, but this epoch where 42 or trailing block signal is 42.9% of the blocks have been signaling for Taproot.
You think it's going to activate this period? Because freaks, it resets every difficulty period. It's supposed to be 90% of blocks signaled in a difficulty period.
I was talking with one of the pool operators and DMs earlier this week. He's pretty confident, like in the next 2 or 3. I don't know about this one.
It's not going to happen this one.
No, I don't think this one. You still got like VIA BTC.
They're going to play games with us, man.
Quit playing games with my heart.
If you really want it, you have to start prepping the user activated soft fork.
Yeah, that's another thing too. Like looking at was it Merch that did the node breakdown? Like only something like 13% of nodes are running the latest version of Core.
Yeah, I mean that should be a upper limit, because obviously you can easily run many of them.
Yeah.
I guess someone could be spamming the other side, but at least the absolute number should be considered an upper limit rather than the percentage. Which is why we have proof of work, because that's verifiable. With nodes, it's not verifiable.
That's what I'm trying. Like I saw Francis tweeting about this earlier this week too. Like there's so little nodes that have upgraded to like the Taproot activated version of Core. If you're just like abdicating this to mine, like does that show that people aren't as gung-ho about Taproot as they should be? Or people being complacent? And if miners do activate it and only, let's say 13%, again, upper limit, have done it, have upgraded, people are just going to wait and see if like Taproot gets activated and people start working with it. Will they then upgrade after? And if they don't like it, do they just stay on?
Look, we should be happy people aren't upgrading quickly.
I agree.
Bitcoin is resistant to change. It's very difficult to change. This is a feature, not a bug.
Yeah, but I'm trying to reconcile like the urgency that seems to be existing throughout the quote unquote community, or at least
people like to be loud on Twitter about it.
Yeah,
that's different than people actually upgrading their nodes.
I was thinking about it this week. Laser eyes were our weak moment. It's like one thing that like me and you always see eye to eye on is like never put like the thing in your like Twitter thing.
That was a top. That was like a local top. Laser eyes.
Right.
200K by conference day.
Matthew,
There were a lot of signs that we were at a local top, freaks.
stay humble.
200K by conference day still in play. We got the Bitcoin car between now and then.
We've got 3 weeks.
500 Bitcoin car.
We didn't talk about that. Let's talk about that.
How fucking dope is that? Fucking legend, man.
Yeah, I mean, we should. We talked to Jack about this. We should talk about it. Like, this is gonna be massive. So, Indy 500, like veteran. What's his name? Edwards.
Ed Carpenter.
Ed Carpenter. Edward Carpenter. There we go. I was gonna say Chris Edwards. It's Ed Carpenter. Decided to forego sponsorship, official sponsorships, and he's a Bitcoiner. He's got laser eyes on his profile. But it's the car is gonna be decked out in Bitcoin, no sponsors. Jack Mahler's has been leading this initiative with him, and I believe Russell Okung's been helping out as well. But they want to raise I believe $7 million for, I believe.
Sorry, this is a very important topic, Marty, but BTC Sessions just came into the comments. Yes, Ben, I already acknowledged that on my own that was a local top, but thank you for reminding us.
I thought you couldn't see the comments.
I can see the comments. I can only choose between the comments and the news and the list, so I choose the comments because I'm gonna always be with my ride or dies. Yeah, so I mean they're gonna raise a shit ton of money for Bitcoin development.
Yeah, open source development.
Yeah, which is fucking awesome, and it's just the car is number 21, and that's just a coincidence,
right? It's pretty baller.
So we're gonna win the Indy 500, and then we're gonna pump past 200K the day after, and then the conference is gonna be 2 days after that.
All the opportunists are taking over. Did you see Emily Ratajkowski, whatever her name is? She just like posted new prof pick, laser eyes, and then she's like launching my NFT next week.
It's the newest thing. I like laser eyes, buy my shitcoin.
Yeah. Brady too. He did the same exact thing. He's like got the GOAT put his laser eyes on, and he was like, join my NFT website. NFT. Oh, dude, I got an email this week about NFTs. Somebody's like, hey, somebody introduced me to one of their friends. They're like, Marty, really respect your opinion. Like, I got a friend who wants to talk about NFTs, and I just respond, I'm going to save you a bunch of time and effort. Like, just their noise, their fad, they'll fade away. I'm not discussing this any further. Your spot is like, we'll see what the market says. I was like, all right. Good luck, buddy.
I've decided this cycle, I'm just going to let the freaks handle this shit. And I guess you too, Marty, because, I mean, you seem to be...
Oh, I'm not worried
I'm just
about
going to have my Bitcoin Zen. Like, I don't care. None of this is a threat to Bitcoin. It's a threat to the people that trade it. And, I'm just going to try and ignore it as much as possible.
My boy Caleb from Barstool.
I saw that he just, like, tags you in things.
He just texted me earlier this week. He's like, dude, ass coin, man. What should I do? And I was like, I don't know. And he like sent me a screenshot of like